this week we're covering the Quadratus Lumborum. So the Quadratus Lumborum, it attaches to, there's 5 parts to it. They attach to the transverse process of the lumbar spine. So remember from last week, the transverse process are the parts that, so this is your spinal column. They're the parts that stick out on either side of the spinal column. So they attach to 4 of this transverse process of the lumbar spine, and also to the back of rib 12. And what they do is if you just contract, that's where they originate, and they insert at the iliac crest. So what they do is when you contract one side, it tips you over, and obviously when you do the other side, it tips you over. But when you engage that with the erector spinae, it helps to lengthen you up. So think of Tadasana, that length and that lift. But when you contract them both, the Quadratus Lumborum, that becomes an open chain movement, and it brings the ribs closer down towards the pelvis. There's no other way for it to go unless one side is more dominant than the other. But then as you're lowering or contracting those Quadratus Lumborum, you're going to notice that difference when one is, like I said, more dominant than the other, but you're trying to keep them balanced the whole time. Now, what does that benefit? So it helps to benefit you when you are doing Trikonasana. That's another way to help deepen the pose and give you more stability, is by engaging the Quadratus Lumborum on the side that you're tipping over. So that's where when you're going to contract the psoas, say for instance right now, my left psoas is contracting, as well as my left Quadratus Lumborum, to help tip me over. And on the other side, obviously, that right Quadratus Lumborum is getting stretched out right in there. So those are the deeper muscles in the spine. Also, when you engage them, it helps to get you deeper into back bends. But when you're doing a back bend, you want to remember to engage the front of the body to help with not compressing the lower back. So you want to engage the psoas again, as well as the rectus abdominis, creating that airbag effect. And then also what is engaging is your Quadratus Lumborum. The other thing that is really super cool is when you're working with this muscle with your pranayama practice. So I'm going to invite you just to sit and let the eyes close for a moment. Engaging both the erector spinae muscles and the Quadratus Lumborum, just to lengthen the torso. Bringing the awareness of the breath down into the belly, actually into the diaphragm. So when you inhale, the diaphragm expands, it actually drops down so the lungs could expand. And when you exhale, the diaphragm lifts and it squeezes the air out of the lungs. So doing a couple of rounds of this diaphragmatic breathing on your own. Trying to really create space in the torso, space in the lungs. So next time you inhale, really expand those ribs out to the side. And when you exhale, start to draw the navel in, the ribs in, the chest down. And keep exhaling. Try to think of engaging that Quadratus Lumborum, bringing the ribs down towards the pelvis. Exhaling as much air out as you can. And then let the next breath in be a floodgate of air into the lungs. A normal breath here. And let's go into the 3-part breathing. So first, inhale into the belly. Continue to breathe into the ribs. And lastly, into the chest. Go ahead, exhale out of the chest, the ribs, and lastly, the belly. Continue exhaling, contracting the Quadratus Lumborum. And then let the next in-breath flood the lungs with air. So go ahead, let your breath find its natural rhythm here. And let your eyes blink open. And when I took the workshop with Dr. Ray Long, he did suggest to do about 5 minutes of pranayama practice each morning, whatever you are working on. So I invite you to try doing that for a period of time. And choose to do 5 minutes and start with something simple, just like the 3-part yogic breathing, and start to build with that. So maybe you just start to notice more of the subtleties of the 3-part yogic breathing. And maybe you really engage the Quadratus Lumborum, just squeezing so that the lungs and the air is squeezed out of the lungs. And start to build from that gradually. So give yourself a couple of weeks to, in a way, sort of perfect that. Not that we ever really perfect anything. But I find that you will notice a difference, because during my practice, I have noticed a difference. And he also said do 5 minutes every morning, because for him, it helped him throughout the rest of the day. And you don't have to have a very long practice, like hours or anything like that. Just 5 minutes to help fuel the rest of your day. So I hope this helps you, and if you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to contact me, and have a great week.